The sky broke before anyone understood why. New Carthage's dawn should have been calm, an ocean breeze carrying the scent of salt into the colony's capital, domed spires glistening in the sunlight. Families walked the plazas, children's laughter echoing against glass towers. Terraformers had spent a century shaping the planet into humanity's jewel on the Orion frontier. It was peaceful, almost ordinary. Then the stars went dark. Black silhouettes drifted across the heavens, massive crescents of metal blotting out the light. They moved in silence, hundreds of them, descending from orbit in perfect formation. The first alarms screamed a heartbeat later, defense grids activating too late. Civilians tilted their heads upward, confused awe turning to dread as fire lanced down from the sky. The colony's defense fleet rose to meet the invaders, a handful of cruisers scrambling from orbit. Their comms blared across the emergency network. "This is Commodore Arendt. All civilians to shelters, hold tight." His words cut short as the Varen warships unleashed a wave of plasma lances, ripping through human hulls as if they were paper. On the ground, the air itself trembled. Impact blasts turned entire districts into molten glass. Families crowded into shelters that collapsed seconds later. A mother clutched her child and shouted into a comm unit voice ragged. "Earth, do you hear us? They're burning the sky." Static swallowed her. The final broadcast carried through the noise. A man's voice, broken but defiant. "Tell Earth, fight back." And then New Carthage was gone. 3 million lives erased in less than an hour. Where oceans once glimmered, only ash and boiling seas remained. Admiral Elias Kalin sat rigid in the war room beneath Earth's defense headquarters, hands locked behind his back as the feed ended. The holoscreen faded to black. Silence weighed over the chamber, heavy enough to suffocate. He didn't speak. Couldn't. His jaw clenched as he replayed the last voice again and again in his mind. His sister, Mara, had lived on New Carthage, an engineer, always laughing when she teased him for being too serious. She had sent him a message 3 weeks earlier. "Come visit. The oceans are finally blue, not green." Now she was gone, her city erased with everyone else. A counselor cleared his throat. "We should not rush into reckless retaliation." His voice trembled, but the words carried the weight of political calculation. Kalin turned his gaze slowly toward him. The Admiral's eyes were dark, the fury in them carefully leashed. 3 million citizens, Kalin said. His voice was even, too even. Slaughtered without warning. This was not war. It was extermination. Another counselor, older, cautious, raised a hand. "If we respond with disproportionate force, the Dominion will escalate. Humanity has only begun its interstellar expansion. We cannot fight them head-on. They already decided for us," Kalin replied. "You think restraint will buy mercy? No. They chose annihilation as their language." He gestured toward the frozen holoscreen. "They wanted to make an example. If we do nothing, every alien power watching will take their cue. Humanity will bleed out colony by colony, system by system." The chamber filled with murmurs, some voices fearful, others angry. The United Earth Council had faced hard debates before, but never with grief this raw pressing against their throats. Counselor Havel, sharp-eyed and uncompromising, leaned forward. "Admiral Kalin, what do you propose?" Kalin's hands tightened behind his back until the knuckles ached. He forced his voice steady. "A strike. Not a raid, not a symbolic skirmish. We must show the galaxy that humanity will not be prey. We take their heart, the Varen Prime system itself." The room erupted in protest. Words like genocide, suicide, madness cut through the noise. Kalin stood motionless, letting them argue. When the voices ebbed, he spoke again, quieter but sharper. "My sister was on that colony." He didn't raise his voice. "But this is not about her. It's about every child still breathing under human skies. If we falter now, we condemn them. If we strike back, they may fear us. And perhaps, for the first time, they will understand, humanity will not be erased." Silence fell again. Heavy, suffocating, absolute. The council's vote came hours later, after bitter debate stretched into the night. By the narrowest margin, war was authorized. Humanity would retaliate. When the decision was announced, Kalen did not celebrate. He walked alone down the corridor, boots echoing against steel. Grief weighed heavier than triumph. At the end of the hall, he paused before a viewport. Earth hung below, a blue marble of oceans and clouds, fragile, precious. Somewhere across the void, New Carthage's ruins still smoldered. His reflection stared back at him in the glass, drawn and lined, older than his 47 years. He whispered the words he had spoken to no one else. They wanted to erase a colony. We will show them what erasure truly means. The orbital shipyards above Earth had not burned this bright and living memory. From the ground, they looked like constellations forged from fire, rings of metal encircling the planet, each alive with movement. Thousands of drones carried cargo crates across scaffolds, engineers in pressure suits worked among glowing weld arcs, and warships rose from construction bays like titans being awakened. The sky itself seemed to hum with urgency. Admiral Elias Kalen stood on the observation deck of Fleet Command, watching as his ships prepared for war. The Resolute, his flagship, gleamed among the fleet, a spear-shaped dreadnought, its hull bristling with railgun turrets and missile arrays. The ship carried scars from a dozen border skirmishes, but it had never faced what was coming now. Status? Kalen asked without turning. His executive officer, Commander Vera Imani, glanced at her data pad. As of this hour, we have 850 warships ready to deploy. The rest will follow within 3 days. Supplies are stocked, crews assigned, drones calibrated. Morale is high, sir. Kalen nodded. He could see it in the crews rushing through airlocks, their shoulders squared, movements sharp. Anger had hardened them. They were not marching to duty, they were marching to vengeance. He boarded the Resolute hours later, greeted by the muted thunder of the engines cycling through tests. The crew stood at attention as he passed through the command deck. Faces young and old turned toward him, waiting for a word, a gesture. Kalen stopped at the center of the bridge. At ease, he said. His voice carried through the chamber, steady and deliberate. I will not give you speeches. You know why we fight. You saw New Carthage burn. A silence pressed close. Some soldiers bowed their heads, others clenched fists. Kalen continued, his gaze sweeping across them. We are not here for bloodlust. We are here to remind the galaxy that humanity does not vanish quietly. We will not beg for mercy. We will not cower. We will strike so hard that no empire will ever mistake restraint for weakness again. The crew straightened, their resolve solidifying. Kalen ended simply. Do your duty. Survive. Return home. That is all. That night, alone in his quarters, Kalen sat before a small hollow projector. A frozen image hovered above the console, his sister Mara, smiling beneath New Carthage's azure sky. She had sent him this only weeks ago. Her last message, stored beside it, played in his ears again. Eli, you work too much. Come visit. The ocean finally looks like Earth's. You'd love it. The recording ended. Silence pressed in. Commander Imani's voice broke the stillness from the doorway. You're carrying it all yourself, she said quietly. Kalen didn't look up. It's my responsibility. It's our responsibility, she countered. You talk about duty. But revenge isn't the same as justice. Are you sure you're not crossing that line? He met her eyes then, tired but unyielding. If wearing the mask of vengeance saves the lives of children who haven't even learned what war is, then I'll wear it. Justice or revenge, call it what you like. The Dominion chose this path, not us. Imani studied him, then gave a curt nod. Then we make sure this war means something. Light years away, in the heart of the Dominion, another council gathered. High Warlord Syrinx reclined on a throne of dark alloy, his scaled hands gripping the armrests. The chamber echoed with the low rumble of his generals debating. Humans are not like the others, one warned. They adapt. They learn. If we provoke them too far, Cyrix's growl silenced him. They are apes who found toys in the stars. New Carthage was their jewel, and we shattered it. Their spirit broke with it. Do you think they can muster fleets like ours? They will crawl back to their cradle world and beg for survival. The generals exchanged uneasy glances. They remembered species who had underestimated humanity before. But none dared challenge Cyrix outright. His authority was law, his word final. Cyrix rose, spreading his clawed arms. Fear is dominion. That is the truth. And humanity will learn it as all the others did. Back aboard the Resolute, final preparations neared completion. The hangars buzzed with activity. Engineers adjusted reactor couplings, pilots checked fighter craft, soldiers loaded rifles into racks. Lieutenant Rourke, one of the younger officers, approached Kalen as he inspected the decks. Sir, permission to speak? Granted. Rourke swallowed. Why are we targeting their home system? Wouldn't a border strike send the same message without risking everything? Kalen paused. He saw the fear in the young man's eyes, not cowardice, but the weight of understanding. Because symbols matter, Kalen said. The Dominion wanted to terrify us. Instead, we will terrify them. When we strike their heart, the galaxy will know humans are not prey. We are a people who endure. That is what will keep our colonies alive. Rourke nodded slowly, shoulders squaring. Understood, Admiral. On the day of departure, Earth's night sky lit up with fire trails as the fleet rose from orbit. Civilians watched from city rooftops, holding candles, waving flags, whispering prayers. Billions had seen New Carthage burn. Billions now watched humanity's answer take shape. Kalen stood at the command chair as the last countdown began. Slip space drives charged, reported Imani. All ships confirm ready, came the voice of a comms officer. Kalen rested his hands on the armrests, eyes fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. For a heartbeat, he thought of Mara's laugh, the way she teased him for never smiling enough. Then he let the memory harden into resolve. Execute jump, he ordered. The void outside twisted, stars stretching into streaks of white fire. The fleet slipped into the darkness between worlds, 1,000 warships carrying humanity's fury into alien skies. Kalen leaned forward, voice low but steady. Hold fast, New Carthage. Justice comes. The void rippled as the human fleet tore out of slip space. 1,000 warships emerged in unison, their hulls catching the light of Varen Prime's sun. Ahead, the Dominion's jewel system glimmered with its worlds, vast orbital stations, defense rings encircling the homeworld, fleets waiting like predators at bay. Sensors lit with contacts, hundreds then thousands. On the bridge of the Resolute, silence reigned. Crews stared at the tactical displays, at the sheer scale of what stood before them. Kalen rose from his chair, voice calm. Signal the fleet. Commence Operation Starfall. The first wave of drones slipped forward, silent shadows spreading across the system. They carried stealth arrays, vanishing from Dominion sensors until it was too late. Within minutes, comm relays across the outer orbit flickered then died. Panic spread through Varen ranks as orders failed to transmit. Comms disruption successful, reported Commander Imani. Kalen's reply was measured. Phase 2. Railgun barrages thundered across the void. Slugs the size of buses tore through orbital platforms, shattering defenses into debris fields. Missile swarms followed, breaking into dozens of submunitions that chewed apart Dominion formations. The first human ships went down in return fire, hulls boiling away, but their sacrifice opened lanes for the main fleet to push forward. Kalen watched the tactical map shift, losses mounting on both sides. Maintain pressure. Push through their inner ring. At the heart of the Dominion fleet, High Warlord Cyrix stood in his command spire, eyes narrowing as the tide shifted. Apes, he snarled, throwing themselves into the fire. An aide trembled at his side. Warlord, they cripple our comms, their tactics are irregular. We cannot predict. Enough, Cyrix snapped. Order all wings to converge. We crush them here, in our cradle. Make them regret defiance. But the orders lagged, disrupted, distorted. Human interference scattered command across the fleet. Squadrons moved out of sync, gaps forming in their lines. Kalen's ships exploited each fracture, driving wedges deep, breaking cohesion. The battle raged for hours. The void glittered with wreckage, fire trailing across blackness. Kalen stood unmoving, his gaze fixed on the shifting chaos. Crews shouted updates, the bridge shuddered with impacts, but his voice never wavered. "Bring the Resolute forward! Direct fire on the command spire!" The dreadnought surged ahead, weapons blazing. On the display, Syrinx's flagship loomed, a fortress bristling with weapons. Plasma lances carved across the Resolute's shields, shaking the deck. Sparks rained from overhead conduits. "Shields failing!" cried an officer. Kalen didn't blink. "Drive us closer. All batteries, fire!" Rail slugs punched into the enemy spire, tearing through layers of armor. Explosions blossomed across its hull. For a moment, the two flagships exchanged fire like duelists, locked in lethal embrace. Then the Dominion ship faltered, flames ripping through its structure. Syrinx's voice echoed one last time, carried across fractured comms. "You think this victory makes you strong, but you will drown in the blood you spill." Kalen's reply was cold steel. "No. We will endure it." The spire detonated, scattering molten fragments into the void. With their commander gone, Dominion resistance crumbled. Yet Kalen gave no order to pursue fleeing ships. His gaze shifted to the star itself, blazing at the system's center. "Phase 3, he said. Imani's jaw tightened. "Admiral, are you certain?" He didn't look at her. "Do it." The fleet deployed the destabilizers, colossal warheads designed not for planets, but for suns. They locked into orbit, releasing chains of gravitic pulses. The star's fusion core faltered, ripples building toward collapse. On Dominion worlds below, civilians looked up at their sky, seeing a brilliance they didn't understand. Some prayed, others screamed. Few realized what was coming. "Detonation sequence confirmed," an officer reported. Kalen gripped the armrest of his chair, feeling the weight of it. With a single order, he would erase billions. His sister's face flashed in his mind, laughing, alive. He forced the memory down, voice a whisper. "For New Carthage! Fire!" The star convulsed. Light erupted outward in a blinding surge, a wave of radiation ripping across the system. The sun collapsed, then exploded, swallowing planets, fleets, stations, everything. Varen Prime burned away in an instant of cosmic fury. On the Resolute's bridge, silence held as the crew watched through darkened viewports. The star became a wound in space, fire stretching outward, unstoppable. Some officers wept openly. Others stood rigid, faces pale, unable to comprehend the magnitude. A few whispered prayers under their breath. Commander Imani's voice was hoarse. "It's done!" Kalen sat back slowly. His chest felt hollow, his body heavy. The vengeance was complete. The cost immeasurable. The fleet limped away, leaving only silence behind. News of the battle reached Earth within days. The galaxy trembled. Some alien powers recoiled in fear, others in awe, a few in calculation. Humanity had announced itself in fire, fragile no longer, a power not to be tested. But on the Resolute, victory tasted like ash. Kalen stared at the star's afterglow until it dimmed. He finally rose, his voice quiet, meant only for himself. "New Carthage is avenged. May history judge us with mercy." Weeks later, back on Earth, Kalen stood before the United Council again. The chamber was silent as he placed his insignia on the table. "I resign my command," he said simply. "The war is won. But I will not carry the weight of another star." No one argued. No one could. He left the chamber, walking alone down the same corridor where he had once vowed to strike back. At the viewport, Earth turned below, blue, alive, fragile still. He rested his hand against the glass. "We did not choose war," he murmured. "But we chose survival. And in surviving, we taught the stars to fear us."